Hey, everybody. It is Friday night, and we are the Asea 5 short a couple that'll be joining us soon. As you know, I'm Dr. Hayes, or you might not know. I'm Dr. Hayes from Galveston, Texas, and I'm joined tonight by Dr. Lee Osler, one of our regulars from Richland, Washington, who is a dentist extraordinaire and also the author of Healthy Matters and Redox Matters, 2 books that we love to share with people that explain a little bit about the science and the application behind redox signaling molecules. And we're joined tonight by a fan favorite, somebody that we love having come talk to us on Friday nights because we learned so much from her. Dr. Carolyn Hoffman from Charlottesville, Virginia. She's a naturopath. She's a digestive health expert. She's a skincare expert, having owned her own spa in the past, and also being one of our speakers on our brand new Renew Advanced Skincare System. And just has a wealth of information. So we love having her come on and kind of explain what this is and why she's involved with it. So Carolyn, come on, kind of tell us, why this is so important. First, start with what this is. What are we talking about tonight? A little bit about the redox signaling.
Absolutely. Super. It's great to be with you again. Maybe, we're not the Asea 5, but if we hang around, we might multiply and become the Asea 5 anyway. Before they get to us. So let's talk about redox and what are these interesting little molecules, these molecules that are present at conception, right? An amazing signaling message that takes place at conception, and they bring us into the world, and sadly we will leave the world when we don't produce enough of them. And the in-between time is, how many do we have, and are they going to meet the needs of our health? And these are signaling molecules, and to think about the fact that we are nothing but 70 to 100 trillion cells in the body, and all of those cells are creating the different organ systems. So whether it's our lungs or our heart or our digestion, everything is just made up of cells, and they form little colonies, so to speak, and they have different roles, obviously. But deep within every one of those cells are these little battery packs, these things called mitochondria, that are charging up our cells, producing energy. Because without energy, nothing happens, right? We don't function. And we think about that, why is it that they take you into hospital if you have a heart arrest? They're going to actually paddle you. They're going to put electrical charge in you to get you moving again, because we have to have electrical charges. We have to have the energy going on. So these little mitochondria make these things called reductants and oxidants. They also make this thing called ATP, which some people may remember from biology back in school. But they generate energy, and they generate these things called reductants and oxidants, which science has just put together, and they make that into one word nowadays called redox. And it's a form of an area of biology that is really powering out how the medical field is looking at what goes on for the human body and how important they are. But these redox molecules are literally essential communicators. So I think of those as much as the same as the software system for our phones, the operating system for our computers. Without communication, nothing is going to take place that's accurate. And it's the same in our cells. We need these cells signaling really loudly to hear, first off, when there's damage, because they're really like our 911 system. They send out a signal to say that we have damage somewhere in the body in a cell. And the other side of it, that's the oxidant piece. The other side of it is the reductants. And that for me is just like the 911 response team, right? Fire and rescue to the situation that comes in, and it swoops in, and it should respond to that signal for help. And it should do the things that we think of as healing, right? Putting everything back together again, and sorting out the damage, making sure that we have nice new healthy cells, and just keeping us in peak performance. The cool pieces, or not so cool pieces, that we are born with lots of them, and it's an inbuilt obsolescence process. As we get older, we just have less of them. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is how science and a breakthrough in science of doing something that was considered impossible, making something outside of the body that is highly volatile within the cells and really wasn't expected to be able to be created outside the human body in any kind of biological form that could be useful, was actually achieved, a scientific breakthrough. And so something that's giving us the opportunity to take charge of our own health, because instead of losing so many of these cells and these signaling messengers as we get older, we're able to rebuild them. So it's like refueling our tank.
You know, I love that, because these are made in every cell of our body. But as you were saying, we have less of them as we get older. And so that's why we see some of the signs of aging. We know we have the same DNA in our 60s that we had in our 20s, but we don't look the same. We don't act the same. So can you speak a little bit about that? When, you know, you as a healthcare expert, how do you see replenishing this? You know, is this something that needs to happen to make everything else work better?
To me, it's common sense. I mean, when I looked at this, you know, if this is the communicating system of the human body that keeps us alive and keeps us healthy, and as you said, you know, deteriorating numbers of them, a loss of volume pushes up the damage and the lack of response to healing. So with that is that part of that aging process, right? The things that go wrong, right? We aren't as active as we used to be. We don't have the same amount of energy supply that we used to. We don't heal as quickly. As you said, we look different, right? The aging on the inside becomes visible on the outside. And so to me, this was like a total no-brainer in a sense. If someone can actually give me the opportunity to rebuild those signals that are going to help me stay much more like I was capable of staying when I was younger because I had more of them, then why wouldn't I want to do that every day? Because this is really recharging every single cell in the system there. Here. And yeah, makes total sense, because we're just rebuilding something that's naturally within our body anyway, but we're just losing with age. They made it.
Yeah, we're back to being 5.
Now we are the CF5.
We
Can
were
you hear
the
us
3.
okay?
Huh?
You can hear us okay?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay,
you all
keep
the way
going.
from Oklahoma.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
So
That's okay. You guys look great. You look really skinny, Jim. You're losing a lot
Oh,
of weight.
thank you. I've
Mhm.
lost a little bit with that cell performance stuff.
I'm gonna have to. Somebody's asked me, do I have a filter on? And that's what Carolyn asked me. You guys, yes, it's not a filter. I think I need a new camera, but
I think the same, Barbara. She looks amazing.
I'm not getting a new camera or a new computer.
I think she's bathing in the Renew Glow gel.
Hey, I swim in that stuff. We will talk about that in a little while. But anyway, hey, welcome. And you guys, so glad you made it on. This has been awesome. As you know, we love having Carolyn on here. She's got such a wealth of knowledge on so many different subjects. But, you know, we're talking about how foundational these molecules are. These molecules are in every cell of our body, made in the mitochondria, the little powerhouses of our cells. The unfortunate thing is that we lose 10% of our mitochondria per decade after puberty. So by the time you get to be our age, 30 something, you know what, you're kind of at a deficit, double that in my case. So 62, you know, I'm running on fumes, you know, so by replenishing this, I'm helping my cells get back to a normal, like homeostasis, so that they can perform their function better. Would you say that's correct, Dr. Hoffman?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're just keeping everything the way it used to be. I tend to have visuals in my mind, just like batteries, right? Every cell is really a battery, isn't it? You know, and when we're young, it's fully powered. And if we are meeting the demands of damage with these reductants coming in and helping us to heal and replace, and we're charging all the time, every single day. So I mean, it's like rechargeable batteries, and we want them at full power. But as you said, you know, we lose them we lose the mitochondria at 10% per decade. So that's really like the power going down in a rechargeable battery. And to me, this is like, well, if you've got a rechargeable battery, what do you want to do? If you want to get more power out of it, you recharge it, right? You stick it into the main sockets, the little thing, and you wait for it to say that it's back up to full power again. And I just think that drinking Asea on a daily basis is our way to recharge every single cell. So we're going to get better operation, better performance, better communication, better ability to detect damaged cells, repair them, or eliminate them if it's, time for them to move on, or if they're doing really bad things that we don't want them to do. They need to move on and get out of there, right? If we want to stay healthy. But, disease is just an imbalance. And if we think about it, the more healthy cells we have throughout the body, the less space there are, so to speak, for unhealthy cells. And so, that's to me just the most optimal way to stay. Let's just keep recharging every day, and we'll look at it, right? Those of us who've been on it for a long time, we know we can see this visible evidence of gradually marching things backwards. And when we look at that photo of Rosie, who gets to start this at 84 and by the time they're 92 look like they've gone back 10 years? I mean, I've never seen another technology or a product that can do this. And certainly there's no pill out there, no nutritional supplement in terms of a capsule that does what this does for us.
Exactly.
I love that, Carolyn. It's amazing because I've been on this product for almost, I probably have been on it longer than anybody on this call, almost 10 years, will be 10 years this Thanksgiving. And, I showed my before and afters at convention. Hey, there's Rosie, and it's amazing. So you look at somebody who is in her 80s and the difference, not just the difference in her appearance, but her demeanor. She's the initial picture, she looks old, unhappy, kind of cranky, and then you see her, sporting her sunglasses. How old is she there? That was at least 5 years later.
Let me have the mic. So she's 84 on the left, and then she's 92 on the bottom right. But when her son is Pastor Mark Mullaney in Albuquerque, and so she said it didn't work at the 7-week mark. And that's just what. And every time I do a meeting, I said, look, I just want you to imagine, Maureen and Carolyn and everybody that because she said, son, it didn't work. Well, Mom, did you take the after picture? Well, no, it didn't work. But I just want, what would be your expression, Carolyn, if you put up the first picture? Okay, here it comes. There's the first picture, right? And then there comes the second picture. How do you respond? And I say, make sure you're not near any sharp objects, because after you wake up, because you're going to pass out when you see the picture. Wouldn't you, Maureen? How would you react to that picture?
Are you talking about Rosie's picture? Her first picture?
Rosie's picture. I mean, you go from, again, let me just kind of go back there real quick. So,
think about it.
You go from,
if this is your loved one, this is your mom, your grandmom. I mean, do you want the first picture, or do you want badass Rosie sporting the sunglasses looking like she's about to jump on her Harley?
Yeah, right. But look at her eyes. But see, if you look deeper into the picture and you look at her eyes, and then you look at the smile on her face in the other 4 pictures.
Yeah.
But isn't that evident, though, Carolyn, of what the molecules are doing, not only on the outside, but more important, what's it doing to your brain? What's it doing to your heart, your lungs, and everything else? That's what we want to get people to focus on.
Yeah, because, I think people often think that the wrinkles on the outside are just what they are, right? They're just wrinkles on the outside, but they reflect the damage and they reflect the wrinkles that are going on the inside of every organ. And you're right. I mean, I often speak to this, you look at that picture and it's the life and the spirit in that woman that in the first 7 weeks is suddenly more present. In that first photo, she looks like her spirit is contracting inward, right? It looks like it's beginning, the light looks like it's going out, right? And it's more the kind of photo that you would expect as people are getting closer to the end of their life. And it's as though the spark got lit again, right? She got recharged, and suddenly there's a lot more energy going on in that system that you see her lift up and come back out again to life. It's not just the skin, even though, you can see so much irritation in the skin with all the redness in that first photo, and then you look at it just disappear. I mean, I say very often it's like an escalator. We come into this life at the top of the escalator, right? And then it's a slow, steady slide downhill. But I think that when people say, well, is this anti-aging? To me, this is much bigger than anti-aging. To me, it's reverse aging. And I always think that, as we move down, we don't notice the loss until we're kind of 35, 40, 50. People then become more conscious of that shift. But it's actually a metabolism point within the energy of the body. I read something about a month or two ago that was saying that, in fact, that 35 is like a tipping point, that the metabolism is peak until that point, and then from 35 onward, we will spend our whole life chasing how to keep our metabolism anywhere near what it was at 35 and before, and that we'll actually never manage it. And I think, to me, that speaks to what we're talking about is redox molecules, right? Because that loss point is really becoming more noticeable at 35 and beyond. It ties back for me also to, if we think about our gene study, right? What age were they? 35, right? They didn't feel like there was much wrong with them. They didn't know that their genes were already turning off. But, those studies, as we know, then analyzed gene activity levels, and they could see that they were already subpar. Those people were what the average person thinks of as healthy. And that's a misnomer. Right? Healthy for most people is a lack of symptoms and a lack of a title, right?
I got a question I'm raising my hand. The people that did the study, the 35-year-olds, my question, did they feel it after the 8 weeks? I would love to be able to go back and ask them that question. How many of y'all felt the results? Because that's one of the most difficult things, guys, is trying to convince people. And I love what Lee says. They're working, whether you feel them or not. How in the world do we convince people of that? Now, if they do the Renew 28 and they take their before and after, that you can't deny that. And or if they have any discomfort and you apply the 3 and 5, like Dr. Silverman shows, and Jerry White, and we've done that, I can't tell you how many times, and they get a result that quick. But sometimes they go, well, that's just a placebo. But how do you convince them that it's working, Carolyn? And Lee and Maureen, you guys are the doctors.
Yeah, I think convince is a tough word, right? Somebody convinced against their will is of the same opinion still, as they say. So it's a tough one, but I think it comes down to my observation would be, and I'm sure you, Lee and Maureen would agree with this, right? Somebody goes into the doctor and they tell them that they have pancreatic cancer and that they've got, a month to live. Did it just come yesterday?
Nope.
No. Right? Did they feel it? Not until they were suddenly propelled to go into the doctor, because then they started to notice things. But that's pretty terminal, and so many people don't even really realize how bad it is. But then suddenly a month later, they're gone. They're no longer here. For me, it's like cholesterol. Do you feel that coming?
Exactly.
Not really. Right? Do you feel it going? Not really. So, it's everything is below the surface, and I tend to like visuals if I'm with people. The thing is, most of what's going on is below the surface, and it's only once it's so out of balance that it becomes a symptom that bugs people, and then they're aware of it, and then there's enough of it that they go to their doctor, and the doctor might determine they've got something wrong and it's got a name to it, but it didn't come overnight. There's another study that actually says that they've clearly identified that all cells precede an actual disease 8 years before they get the name.
Right.
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah. Rogue cells can, they can just sit
No,
there.
not even rogue cells. But actually, there is a tipping point that shifts in a cell that creates any disease, and it actually starts 8 years before we finally get the title.
Yeah. Wow.
We have a
Yeah,
wonderful compensatory ability within the body. There's a lot of redundancies, and that's just part of the design of the cell and the design of the body. But it leads us to this point of, in our culture especially, is how does one determine that they're ill? Because, if the truth were to be known, we, every one of us on the call and listening, already has rogue cells in their body right now, by the thousands, if not tens of thousands. And that's just the normal process of living. That's a consequence of the energy metabolism and the free radical, action inside our body. And that's the kind of hidden gem in what we have in this redox is the idea that, in addition to the fact that we're metabolizing burning energy to create, cellular energy that we can then do something with, we're creating these free radicals, but at the same time, we're also creating the very solution to deal with those and to activate the defensive things. And cell defense is not really a specialty of pharmaceutical medicine. That is not where that lies, is in cellular defenses. I think in the future, there may be some movement in that regard, especially when they figure out the redox equation better, and they can talk about gene silencing and gene expression in some ways. But in the meantime, this is it.
Yeah.
It's interesting what you're bringing up here, Lee, because I was thinking about it. I was thinking about my brother who always thought he was too healthy for Asea. He has been vegetarian for over a decade, mostly vegan, all organic. He's a bodybuilder. But you know what? He owns his own company. And so he's under a whole lot of stress. So he was perfectly healthy. He looked like the picture of health, what everybody would want to look like, great body, until he got a bad diagnosis, right? And then he got on the products like it was his job, drank a huge amount, came through that challenge very, very well, has stayed on the products. But, stress is a killer. And I don't care how healthy you are, most of us are undergoing stress. And I'm looking at this group, and even you, Lee, I mean, it's like you've used Grecian formula. Every week you come on here and you look younger than you did the week before.
That's too funny.
I think it's a wig.
It's funny.
Could be a
I
wig.
think it's a wig.
Could be a wig or a dye job.
It's a wig.
I'm not really sure.
It was
or
a
maybe
wig,
he has a
filling
filter.
that in. So.
Oh, yeah.
But
So,
I
yeah.
really think that it is the fact that these molecules help to combat oxidative stress in the body, in the cells, and you actually see the physical manifestation of that in how we
Yeah,
all
I agree. I was going to talk about, rust is oxidative stress. Our bodies are rusting inside, and think about abnormal cells and how long they can sit there. And you can, on paper, think you're healthy, and you can read your own body, be the inner doctor. Look at Steve Jobs. He, his fridge was full of, fruit and shakes and all, who knows what. But he didn't have enough time. And I was thinking about Rosie when Jim got that picture. He jokes with our Corpus Christi team, and he says, "Okay, Pastor Simmons, if Rosie was one of the members of your church and she showed up, in those sunglasses and looked great, what would you say, Maureen, to her? What did you do to your face?" You'd be asking her, did you have this done or that done? Of course, she had redox, but he would always joke, and the women would say, I want what you got, and the men would, whatever, joke. But we love that picture, and we share it all the time. But I was thinking, Carolyn, we're just starting now on Cell Performance. They're absolutely fabulous. And when we got back from Vegas, I started listening to all your sound bites, your short videos on how to use them, and how to, what's the proper, can teenagers have them, and all these things. So maybe we can tip on that after Jim wants
I got
to
one question
ask
for
a
that.
question.
Something that you guys brought up, and I don't think a lot of people understand. You guys understand it. I don't. Oxidative stress and inflammation. What causes it? What's the big deal? Carolyn?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it is redox out of balance. Right? I mean, the oxidant piece is the signal that there's damage. If that doesn't get met, and isn't remedied either by repair, replace mechanisms and healed, then that signal is going to increase, because it's a fire alarm yelling, we've got a problem, right? Houston, we have a problem, to coin the Texas group. But, so that continues to increase. I mean, I think visuals that I often will give people so that we can keep away from the kind of sciencey conversation, but just things that make sense to people, is if you see it, if they have a seesaw, right, that's in balance, that's youth, right? That's redox homeostasis, in balance.
And that's within
Now,
every cell? Is
Yeah,
that within every cell?
Yes, within it, there's
Okay.
right, because if we think we've got hundreds of different mitochondria in different cells, some have much larger numbers than others, but they're all generating redox signals all the time. So if we have something that is a signal and a response, and back to homeostasis, right? If you cut yourself, it's going to oxidate, you get the inflammation, you get the redness of where you cut yourself. It's the oxidant signal calling the reductant to heal. Once the healing's taken place, it parks and we're back. We don't need it again. Now we have another signal, we respond and we heal. And that really is, the basis of, if it was possible for the body to be in perfect balance at all times, that's what it would look like. Now, when we're young, the signaling is met with a sufficient demand, supply. So if we signal, we have tons of supply to meet that on a regular basis, which is why we look different and we have more energy and all those things. What that starts to do is that, if we think of this as the supply is nowhere near, the demand is nowhere near what the supply is, we're in one way, but as we get older, it shifts. So the damage is not being met. And, there's loads of studies now that they've been doing for the last number of years looking at aging cells, especially as we get older. Aging cells are supposed to signal and kill themselves off. That's part of that redox mechanism, and be replaced with a healthy cell. But they now know that, especially in later stages, we have more of them that don't get eliminated, that in themselves become bad guys. They go around and recruit other cells to become oxidated cells. And so the accumulation of oxidation and inflammation just grows. And as you're the kind of redox specialist in terms of the NRF2 thing, Lee. This is the basis of inflammation, isn't it? Being able to create these internal antioxidants that can quench the fires within each cell. But, we just lose that balance. And so the fires just increase. And so the inflammation increases. We're only going to look at Rosie, right? Her inflammation was out of control. But somewhere along the line, by drinking that Asea, things shifted. And we can kind of see that visual from the outside of that change.
I like the scale that Dr. Rob Ward has in his book.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at, you've got issues that are clearly oxidative, and then you got issues that are reductants. And
Inflammation.
Yeah. So my mom died of cancer, and, you see that listed, and
Yep.
And then other people go through other challenges. So it's so unfortunate you lose a loved one that we just didn't know about redox. But, we're educators, we're influencers. And unfortunately, many people are just a white coat mentality. And so they don't think about any other options. So they're so closed-minded sometimes to other things. And only 7% of the population actually cares about their health. It's a really low number, because
They have a problem.
if you think about the stores, and that's what I always taught, we live in San Antonio, we got a lot of big stores. If you take the circle of the store that's got all the garbage inside, and then the outside is all the fresh stuff, what's good for you, if you are blessed to get organic. So, you count on the streets how many fast food there are versus something healthy, and then what do people run to? So you wonder, you obviously know, too many kids going after that junk, too many adults. And so, you're not starting off on a good foot. And so it's hard to convince people to make lifestyle changes and make that choice. And so, we're blessed that 7 years ago, we were introduced to this. On the 15th will be 7 years. And so, this saved Jim's life. And so we're ever, grateful for what this technology does. Jim, were you going to ask something?
Yeah. We now have the 4 categories of products. How important is the nutrition? And now with the cell performance, and then the redox, and then the facial system. How important are all those? Because they're all independent, right? But yet, if you bring them all together, what could potentially happen to your body, Carolyn?
Right. Isn't it like soil? Someone who's a farmer, right, prepares the soil. The more that they nourish the soil, the better end result from the products that they're trying to grow. It's the same with us. I mean, the pure Redox that we drink is the platform for everything. And I'm about to have a conversation in next week, actually, with a nutritionist. And she was saying, no, I don't recommend any nutritional products whatsoever. I do everything through food. And I don't wish to be contentious with her. But in my mind, I'm saying to myself, well, how do you make up for the deficiencies in our food supply? Because we're at the worst point that we've ever been. And to your point, and we might choose to eat organic, but that still doesn't guarantee everything by any means. There is, no matter how cautious we are, no matter how much attention and money we put behind our diet and being super focused, of course it helps, but it's still not the perfect thing, right? We've still got to make up for what's not in our food. So we have the Asea Via line with obviously the foundational product Source, which is providing really like an Asea's version of what people tend to think of as a multivitamin, right? It's much more complex than that, but it has all those superfoods, it has the organic foods, it has the antioxidants, it has the enzymes, it has the oils, it has the minerals, land and sea minerals, which are all different and very important. So it has this complexity that works synergistically with what we have in the Redox. And we have the other products. We have obviously a fabulous omega product for brain function. We have the Maureen's favorite, the Life Max, right? For, the cardiovascular and the cognitive and the skin health and all of those things. And then we have the biome for improving our natural immune support system within the gut. So we've had that because they've always known that health is to create a healthy cell. It's like building a house, right? You need both the materials and you need the labor. And the Redox is the labor, it's the workers there ready to take charge of that material that we're giving it and turn it into something that we can use. So that's a beautiful package. But now we add the cell performance, and the brilliance is that they've looked at, very specific food ingredients that dock into cells and create actions that produce targeted redox reactions. So we're kind of pulling things together, and I can see a question coming up there on Jim's face. And here's a visual for you, because I think I know where you're going with this. What's the difference between redox and what's the difference between powered by redox? We hear this word, right? This phrase, powered by redox. So for simple version, I think of the Redox that we drink, and also what's in as the Renew 28, the pure Redox, as being the main supply and the electrical communication, the wiring system for the whole house, our body, right? That's the power source. If we don't have that power source, then it doesn't matter where the wiring is, even if the wiring's there. If we have no power source, there's nothing much going to happen in those houses, in those rooms. I think of the powered by Redox as the switch that targets where we want to use the energy and where we want to turn the light on in a particular room, so to speak. So if we want the light on in the kitchen, you know, we have to have the switch there. We can have the wiring there and we can have the energy there, but if we haven't got the switch, it's not going to turn that light bulb on. So we have brilliantly had amazing people who've done tons of study on what type of ingredients, and in their, not only the choice of the actual ingredients, but then the combinations, so that they know that they dock on the cell, rather like a key in a lock, right? They create an activity inside and they push out a targeted response. And in this particular instance, we've got 3 methods that we're trying to target, right? One is the cell performance, the redox energy, and the other one is for the mind, and the other one is for the mood. And we've platformed in the same way to move to the skin side of it by, again, using that signaling, using those ingredients to get in and actually create outcomes that we want for the skin health as a whole. And just to say that that's not a skincare product line that we just put on the outside, right? So many products out there, you just put them on there and they're really only affecting the very surface of the skin. But, you know, there are elements within our product, especially like the hydration cream, where it goes deep, deep, deep into the hypodermis. We're working on cell health, not just skincare.
Lee, can you talk to the reality that what we have, we say that the benefits are stackable, that it's not like you have a health issue, okay, I'll take it, because I knew someone that actually took it for a period because he had a problem with his some pressure in his body, and he took it and his body did the repair work, but then he stopped, right? And then the damage came back, and it came back a lot more serious. So what we have, the benefits are stackable. The longer you stay on, you get better results. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it is. And, you know, to follow what Dr. Carolyn was talking about, this idea is like, what's the difference between a redox molecule or even a redox active molecule and a redox signaling molecule is an important understanding, because out there in the world, there's a lot of people who are buying into this idea of redox these days. We're going to see more and more of this. And it's important that we, as well as they, understand that there is a difference between the signaling side of this, which is pretty much everything, you know, Carolyn's been talking about, and now this other conversation of what plugs in or what rides on this landscape, this redox landscape. And there is a difference, and there's thousands, if not tens of thousands, of redox molecules. You know, any agent or drug or nutraceutical or bioflavonoid or polyphenol or whatever you want to call it that has the capacity to move an electron from one molecule to the other is technically a redox molecule. And that's really what we're talking about here when we talk redox. It's the movement of an electron from one molecule to the next down what we call a gradient. You know, everything's polarity. It's positive and negative charges, just like in computers. It's all about the binary code, you know, zeros and ones. We're talking about a world of redox or reduction oxidation that matters where the electron's located on a particular molecule. And so this idea of the cumulative, or the, as you put it, the stackable effect of this can actually play on both sides of this conversation. And that is because we're talking about cell health. For example, in the redox mind formulation, there's an ingredient called nicotinamide monodinucleotide.
Can you say that one more time? I couldn't understand that. How do you say those kind of words?
We call it
that stuff.
Yeah, we call it NMN. It's nicotinamide, which is vitamin B. Okay, and mono, which is one, and nucleotide, which is the phosphate group that binds to the niacin and the sugar molecule that makes a 3-molecule nicotinamide mononucleotide.
Don't you prefer my simpler versions?
And once in a while, you need to know, you have to geek out enough to know that this is real science.
Exactly.
And when two NMN molecules bind together, you produce nicotinamide, adenine, dinucleotide, which is NAD, and that is a redox couple. That's an important molecule that operates in the mitochondria to move these electrons around. And because of that, it also has the ability to activate what's called a sirtuin. And I've been waiting for this for like the whole time I've been in Asea. It activates sirtuins, which activates DNA repair. So if you're talking about DNA, if you're talking about longevity, if you're talking about age reversal, at least biological age reversal, you have to talk about DNA repair. And so the question is, well, then how does redox signaling, how does this redox Asea landscape play into this conversation that is on both sides of the equation that has this stackable, this cumulative, ongoing benefit? And it's because we're repairing DNA all the time when I have redox activity going on. And if I just take it kind of as needed, like, you know, I have an issue, or I want to think clearly, or I want to calm myself down. Those are all appropriate reasons for redox or for Asea cell performance, utilization. But if I were to take those constantly, especially in my mind, the redox mind, I'm getting the daily dose of NMN, which is helping to facilitate the DNA repair, which is anti-aging. And that's, again, I go deep there on purpose because this isn't just, highfalutin stuff that we're talking about. We're not just here sitting here, rah-rahing each other along this pathway of building a business and helping people. There's real biochemistry involved here because this is the redoxome, just like the genome. This is the redox landscape. And that's what powered by redox means in my mind, is because we're playing in this landscape that activates these pathway genes that repair my DNA, that activate cell defenses, that allow me to clean up these damaged proteins in the cell so I can claim cellular renewal. All of that packaged together is the essence of health. That's what cellular health is all about.
That was, I could even understand that. Now I want to ask Maureen, you had a chance to go back and hang a shingle, correct? Why didn't you?
Go back into medicine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had taken some time off. At my training is I'm an anesthesiologist and a pain specialist. I was double boarded. But I went through kind of a journey of my own when I realized that a lot of what I was doing as a traditional physician was not healing people, not getting them to the level of health that they were looking for. And so I was on a journey and had done other things like acupuncture, mind, body, energy medicine, and was training. When I got introduced to this, I was in age management medicine, which is a really cool field of medicine, which teaches people how to age optimally, because we all want to be 90 or 100, 120. But we don't want to be in wheelchairs. We don't want to be in nursing homes. We don't want to be drooling. We want to be out there fully functioning. And so that the older I get, the more that appeals to me. But at the same time, we got introduced to this because, as a lot of you know, my husband had a huge health challenge. And when I realized what was happening to him, I made the decision not to hang that shingle, not to go back into the practice of medicine, but instead to educate people on a field of science that I did not know anything about. It was fairly new, even though it had been around about 20 years, and anybody who knows about nitric oxide, they weren't calling it a redox molecule, but Nobel Prizes were given for the discovery of that. And when I realized how powerful these molecules were, and that the fact that we could replenish them was non-toxic, no side effects, just side benefits, this was huge. And I felt like people needed to know. And basically, that's what I've been doing for almost a decade now, and probably the most rewarding thing that I've done as a physician, because I'm empowering people to take their own health to the next level. They're not reliant on me for a drug or a procedure. They're using their own physiology to get to that optimal health. So pretty
awesome. Cool. I was going to mention to Lee about that last ingredient. In mind, what's pretty amazing is our packets are just chock full of nutrients. And if you compare it to like a competitor who has something similar, they're not offering near the quantity that's in other products that are out there. So it's pretty neat how Asea was able to get something so wonderful in mind, and one that's of such quality and that's working on our gene pathways. It's just absolutely amazing how it works on cognitive, of course, memory, working on even your immune system, blood sugar. But you get a lot of nutrients in that little packet, and and just adding 10-12 ounces of water. And I'm loving how you can mix the two. I've mixed mood and mind. I've mixed energy and mood. I've mixed energy and mind just to see what they're like, just see the impact. For Jim, starting right before Vegas started, we had the little amount of packets, samples, and when we got back, we started at conference to 3 weeks out, he lost 15 pounds by doing energy in the morning, and mood was at night, and then mind was in the middle of the day. But it's those two, energy and mood, that helped him in the weight loss, because we know that in energy, you've got your B6, B12, you're speeding up the metabolism, you're burning calories. Obviously, you're going to be outside, more active, instead of just sitting around. So it's just really neat how these products get the body moving, get you doing something. And I'm just super excited that we have these available to people. So Dr. Hoffman, do you want to add to it about these three? I'm always sharing your videos. Maybe you can just talk a little bit about them.
I think the other cool thing is just that you mentioned about what's in them and the high quality, that they chose not to add any chemicals to completely dissolve the ingredients. And so there is that kind of little gritty powder quality to them, but that's because they wanted to keep them totally pure. So a lot of companies will incorporate a lot of chemicals so that it makes the product dissolve completely. So if you take them and you notice something, a little bit of debris in there, that's the purpose of it, is because they've kept them totally pure. So they are chemical free. It's kind of interesting you're mentioning energy and you think mood for the weight loss piece, because in our group, we're hearing energy and mind is doing that. So I find that fascinating. It's going to be interesting as we get further down the line to hear the stories as they start to stack up in different ways. I mean, we're seeing huge things with mood for people, especially for the teenagers. I mean, we've had so many challenges for teenagers over this last couple of years who are very, very anxious and overwhelmed with, the state of the world. And we've heard stories from our group where their teenage child, who would normally need to be supervised because of being an at-risk person, is now out and about and sociable and, feeling really steady. I mean, it's making enormous shifts in really important ways. I mean, kids in the mind group taking it and being much more successful in academic grading now, where they weren't being successful before. Now they're acing it, I mean, and as you said, Lee, just the long-term benefit of the cumulative improvement that we're going to see specifically with mind and mood for cognitive function, I think is exciting. And it's quick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they complement what we already have, with our V-Align and our Redox. And I have to say, I usually mix mind and energy together and take mood separately. But the other day I mixed all three. Now it was really strong, so I had to keep diluting it. But I had the best day ever. I was like, this is awesome. Yeah.
Did you do it? How did you do it? Did you do it all in the morning, or did you split it up? I mean, did you do half the packets, or do you do it all at one time?
I did it all at one time.
And what time of the day did you do it, and how long did it last?
It was like late morning, and you know what?
Okay.
It lasted most of the day, and I didn't have any trouble.
Wow.
I didn't it's funny because I kind of think of mood and energy as kind of counteracting each other, but they didn't. I still felt like I was energetic. I still felt like I was sharp. I was just happier. I was taking the mood, and I didn't realize that I was unhappy until I took the mood, and I was like, I was a little cranky or something. But yeah, so taking the mood earlier just kind of, it just kind of brings your stress level down so that you're not so quick to react to things. I found it just very interesting because I like high energy. I like that feeling of being high energy, being sharp, being on task, on my game. So I was kind of not using the mood or taking the mood right before I went to bed so that, I would sleep better. And I don't have any sleep problems, but it's got some pretty awesome ingredients in there like GABA, and ashwagandha to help bring those stress levels down and help you sleep. So that's how I was using it. But when I took it in the middle of the day, I was just kind of like, wow, this is awesome.
I had the same experience with doing that as well. That's probably why you're glowing. You see, it's probably just the glow from the mood. But, I'm listening to you and I'm just thinking about the fact that in the QEEG stuff that I do for neurointegration and mapping the brain, it would be really interesting to see if the brain frequencies hit in what we call SMR, which is like 8 to 12 hertz, because that is the frequency of finely tuned, very brilliant athletes. They found that that's a frequency that they'll train into the brain so that they are super alert with the energy, right? But no stress. So, and here's the thing, they found it in cats. And if you think about it, because when a cat is about to pounce, how they puddle around and then they get dead still. Right, and that they're doing this SMR frequency in the brain, which means they're hyper alert and ready to go, but totally relaxed, so that they are extremely efficient. And that's what they try to train in for, competitive athletes who want to be right at the top of their game. That's the frequency that they work on. And I'd be kind of curious to see if we actually did the energy, mind, and mood piece, whether that would be something that we'd be promoting in the brain, because that's why you keep that kind of alert but really chill.
Okay, I want to bring up for the last couple of minutes, maybe, or Anne, if you have something else, or Lee, but I was looking for my blue bottle. So this is my blue speaker representing a bottle of Asea. It says it's a dietary supplement and it's made from salt water and it tastes like frickin' pool water. Could you explain to me also, one of y'all, why is it network marketing? Lee, I think that's one of your favorite ones. Because I mean, it's a huge issue because a lot of people look at it and that's one of the first, they go to Google and Google says it's a scam. It's ridiculous. But I mean, how do you respond to that, Lee? Because that's a big issue for a lot of people that are just looking at it. Maybe there's a lot of brand new people on tonight, or they'll listen to the recording.
Well, it is a big issue for many, and it has been for me, but I don't think I'm unusual in the normal mix of things. And I think it's just been defined that way because we're used to traditional business models for distribution. And if someone was to seriously, evaluate, if you take the product and set it here and then look at the distribution model and separate the two, it's like, once you know, at least what I believe I know about what we're talking about, once you understand what this is, does it really matter how you get it? I mean, right. Whether it's, from Walmart or Walgreens or Amazon, I mean, does it really matter how you wind up with it as long as it's the real deal? The answer is obviously no. So if you can set that aside and then just say, well, this distribution model simply eliminates all the middleman, all the marketing, because you don't hear about this. That's why people say, well, I've never heard about this before. Well, it's on purpose that you haven't heard about it because you were waiting for me to tell you. And the fact that you know about it now is because I did tell you about it. And so we kind of have to get out of our own way and just realize this is a legitimate business. Now there have been some bad apples. I mean, that's where some of the, the bad things have come with this industry. But I'll tell you what, I took my car into an auto shop and got some new tires put on. And 6 months later, I went to take them off because I live in the northern latitude and you cycle your tires winter to summer. And they said, well, you need a new alignment, a wheel alignment, because there's some wear on your tire. And I said, it was a brand new tire, brand newly put on. They go, well, they put it on backwards. I didn't even know that was possible. And it's like, so am I going to quit buying tires from tire stores now because there was one bad experience?
Right.
I mean, I think it's a good tire store, but okay, so what?
Is that a real thing?
What is that? What?
Is that a real thing? I mean,
and that and a left-handed hammer.
I don't know. It's like, my point is, I had a bad experience with a brick and mortar institution. And what am I going to write off all brick and mortar, all restaurants that I had a bad meal from? And it's like, okay, so get over that and realize that we do have a good model here. Look, take an honest look at it, evaluate the company, and get on with it.
Maureen, how do you answer that? I mean,
you know what? Hey,
because you had a problem with it. You had that shingle above your name, and Dr. Maureen, head of anesthesiology. Don't you know who I am?
I see my nameplate on my door.
My era of ignorance and arrogance.
And then Carolyn, you as well.
Yeah.
For me, it took, I read Robert Kiyosaki's book. I guess I was 40 at the time, so it was quite a while ago, and realized that as a 40-year-old professional woman, I didn't understand how money worked at all. And somebody was trying to introduce me to network marketing, another physician, as a matter of fact, who was drawing these like circles and lines and stuff. And I was like, I have no idea what's happening here. But once I read that book, I realized what we were talking about was residual income. And you guys, this is, if you've ever looked into owning a franchise, and my husband and I did when we moved to Texas. We moved to Texas from Boston. Up in Boston, they have Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. And we were addicted to Dunkin' Donuts coffee. And we got to Texas and there were no Dunkin' Donuts. We're like, we're going to open up a Dunkin' Donuts. They will love the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. And we looked into what it cost. It cost a fortune. That was 20 years ago. And $250 to buy at that time, to buy the franchise, another $250 liquid in the bank. And that was before you bought your real estate or built your building or bought the stuff to make the coffee and the donuts and bagels and everything else they have. Then it dawned on me that if nobody showed up at 4:00 in the morning to make the donuts, it was going to be me. And so, that idea was scrapped. We learned to drink Starbucks and like it, but this is a way to have a franchise. You guys, you can own a micro franchise with very little money, no overhead, no product, you don't have to have inventory. And all we have to do is get the word out, educate people like Dr. Hoffman and Dr. Osler and Ann and Jim here. Just care enough about people to share some good news with them and something that can change their lives. And talking about changing lives and having an impact and the measuring stick, what I love about this is I've never had to go back into practicing medicine, because being a part of this can change people's lives. And I just want to give the floor to these two incredible people for a moment, in case they would like to say anything. So without further ado, Jim and Ann, if you want to take the floor and say anything.
Oh, you're too kind.
The floor is yours.
So today we were blessed to rank up to triple diamond. So we're extremely excited. I appreciate it. And so I was thinking about the whole cat thing you were saying, Carolyn, and I was thinking about Maureen's cats. We lost a cat. We've had several. And so never thought about doing that particular test on a cat. But, these products they are amazing, mind giving more confidence. And I mean, you could test this really on anyone, and and they try it for a period of time, and they're going to see the impact. So people need to know this is out there. I know, Carolyn, your story is, didn't it take you a while? First you heard about it, then your husband saw his impact, and then you even had a skincare line. And I mean, you've really taught a lot. You had your clinic. So it's pretty neat. Your story's pretty neat. Are you going on 9 years? How long have you been with Asea?
No, we joined, where are we? We just started June. So we've just had our 5th anniversary.
Okay, fifth.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I turned it down. I didn't look at it in 2011. So it took me until
Okay, that's where-
2017 to be as smart as people are on their call tonight, if this is their first time being here.
That's where I got that. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's where they got
And
that window.
I
Mhm.
kind of wasn't in that mindset because I was only really using companies that would only sell to practitioners, and so there weren't things that people could buy on the shelf at all. And I don't think anybody really knew enough when it was brand new to kind of educate me that I may have paid attention, but I don't think so. I think it was because I was prejudiced. I was busy working with another company doing NRF2 with a tablet. And I was so excited about being able to turn on the NRF2, all over every cell. It was like I was blinkered, I couldn't see. So I was like, I didn't investigate. I just dismissed, that prejudicial thing where you don't even educate yourself before you make a decision to say no.
Arrogance and ignorance.
I was just busy, focusing on that. But the cool piece here is that we're dealing with liquid and signals. So we don't go through, excuse me, I've got this frog suddenly. We don't go through the digestion piece with Redox. It's immediate, and that's what's so cool about it. But, I just realized, I guess I've been in this field before. I'd never had bad experiences. So the model of being able to help people who could help people who could help people was exciting to me. And I think latently I'd always hoped that I would come across something else that I could do. But I didn't want another Me Too product. I didn't want to have to explain why mine was better than somebody else's. And I think that's something we haven't talked about here. They're first to market. They're still the only ones in this field. It is patented. It can't be reverse engineered. So it was wonderful to not even have to have a conversation about, well, my product's better than your product because no one else has it, and they still don't. And I don't think that they ever will, because we can't be reverse engineered, and we have all this amazing technology, and their science is growing with the product over time, so they know even more about what we have now. But to me, it was like, I can't train somebody else to do what I can do. But as a practitioner, same for you, Maureen, right? You'd have to employ someone who's already trained. But here I can help other people, educate other people. And so my ability to help somebody in the way that I want to do it without a drug, it can be amplified worldwide. So I can help more people than I possibly could from my own practice.
Yeah. And the fact that this is a category creator, that no one knows anything about it, makes it much more of a challenge. But that's what attracted me to this. The same thing with me. I did not want a Me Too type technology, right, but that's what excited me. And then when I was listening and thinking, okay, no one else has it, very stable, profitable after month 8. I'm an ex-stockbroker, so all that made a lot of sense. They'll never go public, which was critical for me, because when they go public, the company doesn't control it, Wall Street does. Yep. So we've got something that works on every cell alive, plants and animals and humans. And the challenge of, and I think that's what drives Maureen too, is, being competitive, but also knowing that you're blessing other people. I mean, we've got some significant people joining our business and money is not an object. They don't need the money. But yet they want to bless and help other people. But the fact that it's something they've never heard of, that's why we do this show, right, guys? That's why sometimes we feel like we're being repetitive, that we keep saying the same thing. And well, that's okay. We have a lot of the same guests like you. We love and adore you, Carolyn, and the other people that we have come on, but we have to share this. We didn't have a choice.
Right. And we're the marketing arm, right? We're the reason that the company is not on the shelves, because what would they do? They do it enough online. They go look and they say, oh, it's salt water, because they're ignorant. And that's not rude. That just means they're not educated, right? They're ignorant of what that means, right, in that salt is necessary, right? And you would resonate with this piece of it, right? We're working in electricity, so we need frequency and charge. So it's there because we're working with frequencies as it goes through its 3.5-day process to get these charges to do the things that, you know, we're trying to replicate what the body's brilliant enough to do in a nanosecond, but takes us 3.5 days to do the same thing. But so we need that. But it's not that there's much salt left by the time the process is finished. And we know that even if you're on a salt restricted diet, the average consumption of sodium, which is not really like what we're thinking of in our kitchen cabinet, right? It's the saline within us. So if we taste our tears, those are salty. If we taste our sweat, those are salty, because that's what the body's using to make these redox molecules. But I mean, it's the equivalent of one slice of bread a day. So there's no one who doesn't eat that much, sodium in a day. So anybody can use it. And as you said earlier, I think it's, clinical studies, it's completely non-toxic. We can drink as much of it as we want. It's within us natively, so we can't be allergic to it. And I think one thing from my perspective that I cannot say of any other supplement, especially if you're working with herbal things, is this is transparent to medication. So you can safely give this to people because it's not going to interfere with their medication. I can't say that of a nutritional supplement. You can have great nutritional supplements like we do, but herbs interact with things. And so that's why doctors always want a list of everything that you're taking if you're going in for an operation, etc.
Yeah.
It's unique.
Yeah.
It's really unique.
Yeah. And I guess I was thinking that window that you hadn't, got on the product was, you mentioned like 6 years in between the 2011 and 17. So some of the best products are coming from companies that are, not on the traditional shelf. Right. And so you were able, your story is awesome, where your husband finally got on it, saw results, and now you've been able to share it around the world. So you really have known about Asea Redox for a lot of years, but finally the light switch went on and then you decided to start sharing it. So we're super excited you're on tonight.
Yeah, and we need to shut down. We could go on forever. When we first heard about this, as an ex-financial advisor who at 58 years old, we did not have a financial future. Things didn't work out the way I had planned. And then through a near tragedy with my best friend, and through his son almost dying, he shared this with me because of what it did for his son and for him as well, who was dealing with some sadness issues. And I trusted my best friend, and I didn't care what was in that bottle because I knew what it did to his son, and I read other testimonials, and I trusted my friend. But I was also thinking that if this stuff is real, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. And what we were able to do today, it's bringing hope to people. And the fact that we get paid, it's nuts. It's an honor. The company that we have, the leadership that we have, people like Lee and Maureen and you and Alan Noble and Terry Latham and Jerry. I mean, all the people, I can't name them all. But to have the honor of sharing this and then seeing the results of that, it's moving. And so we want to thank everyone for the congratulations, but I want everyone to know, please, that anybody can do this. But you have to have the right mindset. Now, our mindset was we had nothing to fall back on. We had nothing. So we had no choice. And I will say that in our 7 years, there has not been one thing that didn't turn out. Well, how am I saying? I'm not saying that right. Everything has turned out exactly like I thought it would. I have not had one negative surprise. I have not had one boo-boo. I have not had anything corporate has done, anything that we have. It's all been upbeat and positive. And guys, you don't see that out in the other kind of businesses. You don't. This is a unique, once in a forever opportunity. If you're first time listening, I'm going to beg you, I'm going to just Go to amazingmolecules.com, go to realredoxresults.com. Password is lowercase redox. The thing that Terry Latham kept saying to me, to us, what if? What if this is real? Guys, this changes the landscape of everything, and only one company has it. So we grabbed a hold of it. Maureen, we love you. Carolyn, you're awesome. We love you as well. Lee, we like you a little bit. Lee, you're awesome. You know, the fact that you wrote those books to give to the world, it's a game changer. So don't miss this. Don't miss this. Don't blow this off because it's saline from Salt Lake City that tastes like pool water. Don't make that mistake, because I'm telling you, right, y'all, this will be a household name. You're either going to be part of it or you're not. But sooner or later, you will be, because you will come back around. So guys, God bless you. Thank you so much. It's an honor. We love doing this, and we'll be back next Friday. So we're gonna have a surprise. So we're gonna come up with something. We got something planned. I'm gonna make a couple phone calls. We've had a busy week this past week, so we will come up with something. All of us will decide who we're going to come up with. But guys, thank you so much. Carolyn, we love and adore you. Again, Maureen, you're my best.
Thanks so much.
And Lee, we adore you as well. So guys, thank you. Go to redoxmatters.com. The recording will be there shortly. And then we will also post that on Facebook, Asea United. I need to figure out how to go back live on Facebook. I haven't done that yet. So guys, thank you. God bless everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.